We starting something new. We're going to be pimping iOS 11, 12, 13, 14, beyond, man. It's your boy Code Hova, and today's video is going to be about passing data between view controllers. It's like doing a hand-to-hand, right? So let's do this, and I'm going to create it from scratch. Yo, if you want to learn Swift 4, as you can see on my background, there's like a gang of shit already uploaded, but I think people want to see shit get built. So let's get it on popping, and let's just create a new Xcode project. It's going to be loading. We're going to go with the single view app, and we're going to call this hand-to-hand. Alright? We don't need none of these things clicked, but we want to make sure that the language is selected as Swift, and over here it's just going to be a organization name and identifier. Right now, that shit ain't important, so let's get it on popping. Just create anywhere. We don't need a Git repository. Don't mind that. Alright, so this is going to be loaded up, and if we, so let's just go with something small, right? We don't need anything mind-blowing. So let's just go with the iPhone SE. It's, this is what I do. I always build it to make sure that everything's good, ready to go. Let me make this full screen. But what we are going to have, you won't need to worry about any of this right here. But what we're going to have, if we look into our main storyboard, is we're going to have this single screen app. Okay. And if we look at the single screen app, we go into the view controller. If we go to the identity inspector, we're going to see that this class is view controller, which is tied to this file right here. So this file is connected with this view controller. Okay. So we got the simulator loading up. So if we look at this view controller, we're going to see, damn, so big. But anyways, we're going to see that this view controller is just subclassing the UIViewController. It's going to have this the two basic functions that always come with new view controller files. It's view did load and did receive memory warning. So let's just cut the shit out. We may use view did load, okay? But anyways, this is what it is. So if we want to see this screen, right? This is what we have, and we want to create another view controller where if I click a button here, it's going to send some information into this new one. So this is how we're going to start it, guys. So let's just cut this shit out. All right. And let's just cut this view controller out too. Let's deliberately create everything from scratch, okay? So what we're going to do is, all right, there we go. So what we're going to do is pass in one view controller, pass in another view controller. All right. And then, yo, hold on. I'm going to get some assets to make this shit fun. Hold on. Okay. So we're going to move on, and I'm back. And let's make this first view controller into a red color just so we know what the deal is. So we're going to have to click on the view, right? So I was clicking on something else. So if I go here, bam, I'd be like, yo, let's turn this into a red, and let's change this one into a black. And what we're also going to do is we're going to do not a hand-to-hand sale, but we're going to do some massive wholesaling. Okay, so we're going to get a image view. All right, and then let's place that directly in the middle. And it's complaining. But it's complaining, I already know, because it's saying, yo, I don't know what size to make this. So if we look at it, it says image needs X position or width, right? Damn, computer's bugging. But so let's just make it simple, where I'm gonna say I want this to be 250. See, now it's all blue. So the image is we're gonna deal with Pablo. Okay, and let's make this aspect fit, so it's gonna look all good on the screen. And then with this, we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna place in the picture, organize it by constraining it horizontally and vertically in the container. It's gonna complain, doesn't know what size to do. Let's keep it simple. Kiss, keep it simple, stupid. Bam, and then let's throw in the motherfucking CIA. Right? Let's just change that to aspect fit, just so We're going to keep consistent. And if we run this, it's like, yo, don't tell me about that shit. Just run it. All right. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to create some button. Click in here. Go into there. And all right. Oh, see? It's saying failed to instantiate the default view controller for main storyboard file main. Perhaps the designated entry point is not set. And remember how we deleted the view controller that was there and also the view controller file, viewcontroller.swift. Let's fix that shit up. So what we're going to have is in hand-to-hand, I'm going to right-click on the folder, and I'm going to create a new file. And we're going to create Cocoa Touch class. And this subclass is going to be a UIViewController. And we're going to name this Pablo. Okay. And then we're going to create one more. We're going to call this one CIA. Alright. So we create the CIA. And just for sake of organization, I'm going to sort by the type. But let's go back. Let's go back to the main storyboard. And here in the identity inspector, we're going to call this shit Pablo. Alright. And this one is going to be called CIA. So let's run this bitch. Alright. So it's going to be running. Damn, what the fuck? Ah, see, again, we don't know which one start from. Which one are we going to start from? We want to start from Pablo, so let's click on this. And we're going to have is initial view controller. Boom. Alright, I mean, this is what coding is all about, man. You're gonna run, debug, fix shit. There we go. Our boy Pablo. So what we want to do is create a button that'll also then go to this view controller. So let's get a button. And then let's get this button out here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create a constraint that's going to be 20 points away from this. And let's say wholesale Coke. Okay. See? And now if we look at it, it doesn't fit. So what's the deal? So let's see. We're going to constrain it. We're going to center it horizontally with this photo. And because, I mean, we already know that this text of wholesale Coke will definitely be not larger than the whole screen. We're good, but, you know, it's always good to put in constraints like, yo, I want to make sure that this shit is, like, never going outside the bounds of the screen. So let's just go with the good 20, okay? So that's good. And let's change the background, right? Let's change the font color to that. And let's also make the background of the button like black. So it looks kind of tight. Looks kind of gangster. But again, what we see here is it's all big, right? So we want this button to be like a nice size that just surrounds the text. Not all the way to the 20 points away from the leading edge of the screen, 20 points away from the trailer. That's too much. So as you see, these are the constraints that we got. I went that by going into the size inspector, right, with the button clicked. And we're going to go to leading and trailing constraints. So here, we're going to change this shit to, it could be greater or equal to 20. I think it's greater or equal to 20, right? And then greater or equal to 20. Boom. See, now it's like that. I don't know if that's exactly what I want, but let's just run with it for now. You see, this becomes a little too. I guess never mind. Just hold up. I know exactly what I'm doing. Let's make this shit easy. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, there we go. We motherfucking hacking this bitch. So what we want to have happen is when we click on wholesale Coke, we want this button to send us to the CIA screen. Alright. Let's run this bitch. Boom. Pablo, wholesale Coke. Oh shit, son. Alright, so as you saw, is we were able to segue into the CIA screen. But what we want to do in this video is we want to pass data over. So it's like when I click that button, I want to send over 100 keys of code. But as you can see, we don't have a back button. We got none of that. So how do we fix that? What we do is we add in a navigation controller. So if you click on Pablo and then we go into the editor, we're going to embed in a navigation controller. And by doing that, if we run it, you see the screen, because this Pablo view controller was the initial view controller that we're working with. When we embed this view controller into this navigation controller, as you see, that little plus, the storyboard entry point has been updated. So Xcode is smart in that way. So if we look at this, if we wholesale code and we go back, we could always go back because of the navigation controller. All right. So now what we want to do is like, yo, every time every time Pablo wholesales coke, we want to have like the CIA get 100 keys. Okay. So we're going to have what? I mean, we're going to have some kind of display here that's going to tell us how much code we got. So if we want to display text, we're going to have a label, a UI label. And this too, we're going to constrain it 20 points from the bottom of the image above. And then let's change this font to text. Font color to white. And then let's also center this bitch with the image. And just for alignment's sake, let's just say that it's 2020. And then we'll align that text within the label in the center. And just to make it bigger and more fun, I guess. I don't really know if that makes it more fun, but let's make this shit a title font. Alright? So, how, number one, we're going to have to be able to say that we're going to have to access this UI label. And how we do that is in our CIAV controller, we're going to have to create an outlet. So we create an outlet by first starting with the @ symbol, IB outlet. And then this is just convention that you should get used to. Declare it as a private, weak, var. And what is the name of this UI label that we got going on? Let's call it weight display label. And then we're going to add in a semicolon, UI label. You might not understand what the fuck's going on with this shit, but just learn it, because you're going to have to do this over and over and over as you create new screens, new code. So we have a UI label on the screen called weight display label. And if we click on this view controller, if we look into the connections inspector, we're going to see that we have weight display label right here. And what we're going to do is, this is like an outlet, I guess you call it. And you see how when we hover over it, there's a plus button. So we're going to plus, and then we're going to hit this shit. So whenever we work in this CIAV controller code, we'll be able to manipulate this weight display label. So just for our example, let's say like weight display label, and then we're going to do .text. And as you see, when we put in .text, this question mark came up because this is an optional label. Okay, if you don't know what optionals are, watch my make Swift for your bitch video about optionals. But essentially, because it's an optional, this question mark popped up. And let's make this say, you got robbed. Okay, so let's run this. So here's it loaded up. Let's wholesale code, and bam, it says you got robbed. So what we're going to have to properly do is pass data from this view controller to this view controller. Bam. All right. So how do we do that? What we have to do is we're going to go into our main storyboard, and what we see here is what we call a segue, right? So in this segue, we could name an identifier. That's what we have to do. And this stuff, we don't need to touch on that just now. But what we want this definitely to be is a push. So let's just say wholesale deal. And this is just an example, but when you're working on a project, there's probably conventions on the way storyboard segue identifiers should be labeled. Some companies, they write them as like actions. Some other companies be really explicit, like Pablo ViewController to CIAV Controller. But let's just keep it simple and let's go with wholesale deal, okay? So we're gonna have to know exactly how we wrote this. We're gonna have to be very case sensitive. We're gonna have to know case sensitively exactly what this identifier is. So let's just copy this and let's go into our Pablo ViewController. And in our Pablo ViewController, excuse me. So there's a function called prepare for segue. And this is where it gets fun, right? Let's just cut this shit out so you don't have to worry about it. I mean, even navigation, we don't need this. And view did load, we don't need it right now either. So let's keep it simple. So we have this shit called prepare for segue. And just for reference, this is our identifier. So what we want to do is we want to first pull out the segue's identifier. And we could do that by let identifier equal segue dot identifier. But if we let me close this up. So if we question mark that, alt click this, we find out that this is an optional, a string optional. So that's one of the things about Swift. It's super safe. So how do we make sure that this shit isn't an optional? We have to do optional binding, right? Again, if you don't know about optional binding, you can watch it in my Make Swift for Your Bitch video. So if you want to, let's learn it in a way that you're going to use it professionally. Let's guard this shit. Guard let identifier equals segue identifier, else return. So if segue.identifier is nil, if it's not a string, we're just going to return out of this function, and everything that we write under this, it's not going to happen. Okay, so but if it does happen, we have access into this identifier, and the only segue we have in our code right now is just this one segue from Pablo to the CIA. So we don't need to do switches and whatnot. I'm going over ahead. So let's just do this shit. So guard let identifier equal segue dot identifier, right? And let's also make sure that identifier is equal to wholesale deal. And if it's equal into wholesale deal, we're going to want to do some shit. But also, we're going to have to identify the destination. Let CIA VC equals segue dot destination as CIA ViewController. Okay, so from here, we're saying that if the identifier is equal to a string, and if that string is equal to wholesale deal, we know. So let me illustrate the point with the storyboard. So we have Pablo and the CIA ViewControllers, right? So we're saying that there's an identifier for this segue, which we do. And if that identifier is equal into the string of wholesale deal, we're going to know that this destination where this is going to is the identity of the CIA ViewController. Okay, so segue.destination as CIA ViewController. If that's the deal, we could do something with the CIA ViewController here. That's if it goes all through these guard statements, and if all of these are true, we could do some shit here. So let's get to doing that. So we have the CIAV controller. Let's say that there is a public weight, public var weight amount, okay? And this is going to be, let's just make it into a default string of nothing, of an empty string. And then let's also change this when it loads. Let's make it string interpolation weight amount. Okay, so if this is, let's just say 0 kilos received. Okay. So when this loads, it's going to tell you. Right now, it's going to say always 0 keys received. Let's see where my error is at. Alright, so this can't be there. So we're going to run with this. So it says 0 keys received. So what we want to do is, when this goes down, we want it to be the amount. So CIAVC.weight, weight amount. Let's make that equal to 10,000 keys. But it has to be a string. Alright. So let's run it. So boom, 10,000 keys received. But now, because the text is too long, font's looking fucked up. So let's go to the storyboard. And if we click on this, we can make sure that it could, the font will shrink to fit in all the text. So let's do it one more time. Boom. So it's going to reduce the font. And now every time we wholesale code, because we have the segues connected correctly, it's going to be able to pass over data from one view controller to the next, like a hand-to-hand deal, like a wholesale deal, whatever it may be. Let's get it popping. It's your boy, Code Hova, passing data with view controllers.